Hi everyone, and thank you for coming along today to hear all about the Let's Learn Language project, which is a project designed to improve the oral language outcomes for all children in Foundation to Year 2 at our school. As you may have guessed, the focus of this project is to improve oral language in junior students, but we'll have a particular focus on students who have English as an additional language or dialect. All of you present here today are key stakeholders and will be valuable contributors should we move forward with this project. We'll start with the learning intention to improve educational outcomes in oral language development and use for students from Foundation to Year 2, particularly those who are EALD. We'll be successful if we improve oral language of all students, improve literacy educational outcomes for EALD students by improving their English and oral language. If we can observe EALD students communicating effectively with their peers and see them following verbal directions to complete learning and organisational tasks. My educational philosophy leading me to this project is that I believe teachers need to nurture, advise and guide children to be effective and valuable contributors to our fast-paced, often formidable 21st century world. Children need to be equipped with mental tools and strategies to manage challenges the world will present to them. I am the ideal leader for this project, first and foremost, because I have a passion for oral language development and literacy intervention. I've been monitoring the data at our school for the last 5 years and feel really strongly about improving the literacy education for all of our students. In recent years, we have had a huge rise in the number of EALD students enrolling in our school due to the multicultural community we have in our suburb. I will be able to effectively lead others in this project because of my passion, and it will drive my leadership to ensure that we achieve the goals of this program. Excuse me. Secondly, I've been a junior teacher for 4 years, and my experience and expertise in classroom management and program design will help us to come up with a good program for this project and to ensure that we are meeting the project goals. And thirdly, I have been a Year 3 teacher as well, and I have seen the effects of a lack of oral language intervention and development in early years and how that can affect them later in their schooling. So much of the research has been conducted in this area of education, which I'll discuss soon. But first and foremost, I want to talk about the data from our school, which seems to suggest a gap in our oral language teaching and learning. As you can see from the scores from our record of oral language assessment, they are declining each year, and the growth from one year to the next is not always positive. This data was the inspiration for the design of this project. Fontes and Penal were a huge part of my research as we use a lot of their resources at our school. Using their book When Readers Struggle, they really discussed how the oral language of all students is vital for not only literacy and school success, but success later in life as well. Their book has a whole chapter on teaching EALD students. In a more recent article that I found, Amundsen and Wilson discuss how oral language is the vehicle in which children understand our world and how teachers must deliberately and purposefully plan for opportunities for them to practice language. There's lots of research out there on oral language and English language learning that suggests that it is beneficial for children to practice their first language and maintain literacy skills in that language, which will help them in their English literacy later on. I'll discuss later how this research has been used in the program. Again, Fontes and Penal are discussing how oral language affects reading and writing skills. And I found some documentation from Catholic Education Melbourne, which highlights the goal of education to prepare children for their future. More documentation from CEM outlines these factors that impact EAL learning, such as age of child, additional learning needs, parents' literacy proficiency in first language and English, student attitudes towards learning English, maintenance of first language, degree of exposure to and use of English, migration, refugee settlement experiences, previous schooling, teacher attitudes towards students and expectations, effective teaching approaches and strategies, and whole school approach to funding. I have used some of these factors listed there to think about what would impact this project in particular, such as children with additional learning needs, parental language barriers, lack of confidence or lack of knowledge on how to effectively teach for oral language development, first language not being maintained, and a lack of resources or necessary funding. These factors will be revisited at the end of the presentation to refer back to parts of the program that are addressing these factors. Okay, next we are up to the plan. Step 1 is to inform all the teachers that will be involved. So following this proposal, the representative teachers here will take it to their teams. They'll do some PD and share it with their teams. They'll work with their teams to discuss possible strategies we could use in the project. And they'll all meet with the literacy and learning and teaching leaders to share ideas and possibly have some more professional development through readings and such. Step 2, we'll look at our data to identify which students would be the highest needs. Step 3, we would develop the program together. So as a leader, I would value the input of all teachers involved and we would design the program together. However, for the purpose of this project, I have designed the program already and have included a sample on the next slide. So for our project, we have got multiple learning experiences. The program also includes oral language prompts that teachers can use to prompt children to use vocabulary and sentence structures to advance their language. As well, we have Victorian curriculum links from the Level A1 English as Additional Language curriculum. So in the program, there's lots of oral sharing, lots of working in pairs for children to have plenty of opportunities to talk to each other and practice that language that they are learning. Step 4 would be to inform families about the project, both English-speaking and non-English-speaking families. We could do this via an information night. We could have an information sheet, both in hard copy and digital form, which could be translated into any appropriate languages that would match our multicultural community. We could ask bilingual parents or teachers to assist with the translating of that. We could have a video where interpreters create the video in particular languages and which could be posted on our social media platforms. We would inform the parents that what the goals of the project are, and we could tell them how they could help out at home, such as maintaining their first language primarily, but they could also be reading to children in English, teaching them nursery rhymes, or just having conversations in English. We could ask for parent helpers at school. So during the play-based learning, which was in the program, they can interact with children, talk to children, have conversations with them, prompt them to talk, as a lot of the research suggests that adults to child interaction when learning language is really helpful for children to practice different vocab and sentence structures. Step 5 would be to implement the program. So staff and teachers would be providing the learning for the students. My role in that as the leader would be to answer any questions that anyone has, to seek more resources for them, so for the future play stations that they're going to do and any books that they're going to use. I would be interacting with the children where possible during the play-based learning to really encourage more of that adult to child conversation, and I would be reporting any of my observations back to the teachers. Finally, step 6 would be feedback and reflection. So as well as offering informal sessions for feedback throughout the project, we will collect formal and detailed feedback from all those involved, particularly the stakeholders present at this meeting today. I've included some sample feedback forms here for you to see what they may look like. We will use Google Forms to collect the data, as it is really good at collating it all together. The parent feedback form can be translated into any language needed to be inclusive of all parents and families. And now we come back to the factors that could impact the project. So I'll be referring to various parts of the program whilst also discussing areas that will need more research or action. First of all, we need to consider additional learning needs of children. Many of these additional learning needs, like hearing and sight challenges, speech impediments, auditory processing challenges, ASD and ADHD, can be addressed by strategies that have already been put in place by the teachers previously to the beginning of this project. These can include things like visual instructions, fidget toys, wriggle chairs, anything that has been helping them. However, introducing play-based learning time can often be a struggle for some kids, especially if they also have EALD, so if they're learning English as well. So to address these needs, we will attempt to have repetitive routines during the Let's Learn Language time so that they know what is going on rather than trying to put instructions together all the time. They can kind of predict what's going to happen. We'll have them working with a friend as they'll feel more comfortable and they may engage with the tasks with more enthusiasm. We will offer noise cancelling headphones for those who the noise is too overwhelming, but that can pose a challenge in itself as they won't be able to hear the people that they're communicating with. So we'll also have quiet areas or using the breakout spaces we have available at our school so that they can find a quieter area to still engage in the tasks. Secondly, parental language barriers could affect the engagement with English materials at home, such as reading or singing nursery rhymes. But since we would like the maintenance of their first language, this won't really have a significant effect as they can interact in their home language. But if we wanted to address this in the future, the school could offer adult English lessons in the hall for those who would like to further their own language learning. Thirdly, we are providing time and opportunities for teachers to engage in relevant professional development and learning before the project begins. So hopefully that would address the lack of confidence or knowledge that may present itself when we start this project. As mentioned previously, we want first language of EALD children to be maintained. So we'll be communicating this need during our information sessions and any of the other platforms we're communicating with the parents. Finally, we have tackled the idea of lack of resources by asking parents to help with making them. And if funding is a huge problem, we could host fundraisers to get the money we need to source materials. So that would be a conversation for another day. Okay, well, thank you for listening to the proposal of the Let's Learn Language project. And I really hope that you take the idea on board and we can move forward with it soon.